Hey, shuckalugga kapow. How's it going, old schoolers? You're kicking it old school at Russell JS, and I am your host, Russell JS. I have got yet another battle royale of album against album. And you know what? After this video is over, I'm going to end up doing a two-parter. You hear me? Two-parter video after this. Because you know why? 4 Kiss albums are going to duke it out against each other. I mean, it's going to be, so I have to divide them. I got to split them up and let each two have their way. It's like a big quadruple sibling rivalry, you know? But for our battle royale that we got today, we've got the king slash godfather of shock rock, the Duke of Rock and Roll Macabre. None other than Alice Cooper, Billion Dollar Babies versus You Wanted the Best. You got the best, the hottest band in the world, Kiss, Love Gun. Now, why am I putting Alice Cooper, Billion Dollar Babies, and Kiss Love Gun against one another? Well, number one, each of them are 2 of my favorite albums from those artists. And number 2, each of these albums is the artist's 6th, you heard me, 6th album that they had recorded in their career. And, you know, to put Alice Cooper up against Kiss, that's almost like, gee, I don't know. That would be like putting, maybe Black Sabbath up against Led Zeppelin. Who knows? But I am putting these 2 great albums up against each other. And later, and after this video is over, I'm going to get ready, and you're going to see a part 1 and part 2 of Kiss versus Kiss. Now remember, if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit a like, subscribe, leave comments down in the box below, ring that bell for notification for future videos to come around. And also, well, you know the routine. Yeah, as you can see, I'm wearing a Pontiac V8 shirt. Let me show you the back of this right here. See, I'm wearing that because Pontiac is my favorite car brand. And you know, I thought when I first saw this shirt in a catalog, I thought that looked pretty cool. I mean, I could have got myself a Trans Am one at the time. They had one with the Golden Eagle, because I had a Firebird at the time I got this shirt, but I think I thought of this as more cooler and, you know, more classic, you know? But without further ado, let's see how these bad Oscar of albums rank out, shall we? Okay, in the case of Alice Cooper, Billion Dollar Babies versus Kiss Love Gun, Hello Hooray versus I Stole Your Love. I love the way Hello Hooray, you know, just starts that intro. It's like, you know, I wonder, I've never been to a concert of Alice's. I wonder if once that song came out, once this album came out, I wonder if they used that for their intro, you know, start the concert off. I mean, if you remember, the reason why I say they is because at one point, Alice Cooper was a band. And yes, the singer did go by the name Alice Cooper. As a matter of fact, the singer's real name, the guy Alice Cooper, as we all know, his real name is Vincent Fournier. And he wanted to go ahead and he wanted to be an actor, you know, like a rock and roll lead singer actor type. And Alice Cooper is a character. As a matter of fact, for those of you that don't know, they're trying to figure out a really great band name after changing so many times, like being called the Nazz, the Spiders, and the Earwigs. What had happened was, you know, none of those names really worked for them. So they got out an Ouija board, and I guess according to legend, the Ouija board spelled out Alice Cooper. And supposedly Alice Cooper, during the days of the Salem witch burning, supposedly was actually a witch who got burned at the stake, reincarnated into Vincent Fournier. And now there he is. He's known as Alice Cooper. Now, the thing is, the way he sees it, though, he's only Alice Cooper when he takes the stage and when he's recording. But other than that, when he's out and about, he's Vince. Love me that sweet tea. So, therefore, Hello Hooray versus I Stole Your Love, and I love I Stole Your Love, and I love them both, and I can't put, you know, I got to do this, 1 point for Alice Cooper and 1 point for Kiss. Raped in Friesen versus Christine 16. To me, Christine 16 is one of those songs that Kiss put out that's kind of overrated. I mean, everybody knows it. It's in just about almost every single live album. I said almost every live album. I mean, I'm sure there's a few others that it's not on, like Alive and MTV Unplugged. But I'm not really a big fan of it. So I'm going with Raped in Friesen. Elected versus Got Love for Sale. Man, I just love how the guitars sound and how, Alice, how he's screeching about how he wants to be elected. Elected for what? Maybe president? I'd elect Alice Cooper as president, if you ask me. Going up against Got Love for Sale. I dig Got Love for Sale. I mean, a lot of times when Gene is singing, he does have some great vocals, sometimes a little groggy, and sometimes he could be a little, on the side where he's got a smooth voice like a jazz singer. So you know what? I'm giving them both a point. Billion Dollar Babies versus Shock Me. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Oh, you got the title track up against the first song that Ace Frehley, I mean, he has written quite a few songs for Kiss in the past, but this was his lead vocal debut. Because Gene and Paul, they always wanted, I mean, Peter has sung on some songs along with Peter and Gene, around with Paul and Gene, but this is the point where they wanted Ace to start singing. I mean, he wrote Cold Gin, but Gene sang that. He co-wrote Coming Home, but Paul sang on that. And he also wrote Parasite, which Gene sang. And the thing is, they wanted to capture that essence of the Beatles, like the Beatles on steroids. I mean, truthfully, I look at this as the Beatles. I mean, to me, this kind of reminds me of the Sgt. Pepper record album cover. I kind of look at this as what would happen if the Beatles became Marvel Comics superheroes, which, by the way, they did in fact make a limited edition Marvel Comics series that were Kiss's own blood. 4 vials of each band member's blood was put in the ink of the comic book, and it was a Marvel Comics special edition. And what happened was it was based on Kiss being superheroes like Marvel Comics. And later on, they would use the whole idea, the concept for the movie Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, which was sold to them as A Hard Day's Night meets Star Wars, and it was anything but. Now, the thing about that is it wasn't really a great movie. It wasn't a bad movie either. It was just a typical, made-for-TV movie of the week kind of thing. But still, young kids, they did get in front of the TV to watch their heroes fight androids and go up against Abner Devereaux, played by Anthony Zerbe. So in this case, I love Billion Dollar Babies and I love Shock Me. They both get a point. Okay, Unfinished Suite versus Tomorrow and Tonight. You know what? Again, this is another one. That's why I must love these albums so much, because look at this. They're both getting a point right here. Okay. Of course, yeah, No More Mr. Nice Guy. That's one of my favorite tunes by Alice Cooper. Going up against Love Gun, which is the title track for Kiss, Love Gun. And you know what? Oh, this hurts too, because I love them both. And you know what? I cannot put one against the other again. A point for each. And don't worry, this is going to be a fair thing. I mean, Alice Cooper's ahead with 6 points against Kiss's 5 points. Generation Landslide versus Hooligan. Hold on a sec. And I know what you're thinking, if I'm applying pressure to my vape mod, maybe it's time for me to quit, right? That's what you're probably thinking. Well, enough about that. Generation Landslide versus Hooligan. You know what? I love the way this sounds with the acoustic guitar, with the electric guitar, and Alice going over like, kind of, must be relatable to Alice because, please clean your plate, dear. The Lord above can see you. The things that parents, what was going on in that time, like the Vietnam War, the baby boom, all that stuff that was happening at that time, how that was generation landslide, how the whole baby boomer era was coming to an end. And they were getting, at that point, the Joneses were starting to emerge. And they were kind of like the baby boomers, except they were a little bit more rebellious, which would help structure what would be Generation X from 1966 to 1980. And that's going up against Hooligan. And I love Hooligan. I love the way Peter Criss sounds on the lead vocals there. So therefore, they both get a point. Now here we go. Sick Things versus Almost Human. Man, Sick Things was okay, but to me it couldn't add up to Almost Human, so therefore Almost Human gets a point. Marianne versus Plaster Caster. You know what? Plaster Caster is kind of a goofy song. Gene singing about the Plaster Casters, which I don't know if a lot of you know, but there was a groupie club of young women called the Plaster Casters. And what they did, I don't know how many of you know about this, but what they did was they'd bring rock stars in and make with dental plaster, they would make sculptures out of rock stars' penises. They had a whole gallery, and they still to this day have a whole gallery of all these rock stars, nether regions. And from my understanding, the biggest one of them all is Jimi Hendrix. And here's the thing. I like the song Marianne. I thought that song sounded really good. It had that piano thing going on, real jazzy. And plus, my daughter's name is Marianne. So Marianne gets the point against Plaster Caster. I Love the Dead versus Then She Kissed Me. Then She Kissed Me is all right. It's a cover song. I think it was by the Supremes or the Shangri-Las or whoever. It's an old 60s bebop song. But, it was all right even by Kiss standards. But, I think I have to go with I Love the Dead better. So, in the case of Alice Cooper, Billion Dollar Babies versus Kiss Love Gun, we've got Alice Cooper with 9 points, Love Gun with 7, which means there you have it. Yes, right there. Alice Cooper wins this round. And now I want you to go ahead. That's going to be it for this video. Remember, if you're new to the channel, you hit a like, subscribe, leave comments down in the box below, ring that bell down there for notifications. And remember, get you enough. Keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it chill. Get you enough of love, get you enough of peace, get you enough of tranquility, get you enough of less drama, no drama, less chaos, less chaos, no chaos. Do what you feel, listen to old school music, play old school video games, watch old school movies, watch old school TV shows. And as always, your old pal Russell JS wanting to wish you Godspeed. May the force be with you always, and shakalaka kapow.